Yes, that was very, somebody shared. He always wanted to do that. Should we go? Get the show on the road? I almost, I am so tempted to do that so often. All right, you're good. You're up. Okay. Good morning. Welcome to our service from the Unitarian Society of Northampton and Florence. I'm Laura Schroeder, and I'm a member of your worship committee. If you are new or returning after a time away, we're glad to see you. Please feel free to fill out a blue welcome card, which you can put in the offering plate later in the service. There's a link for an online version in the chat. We'll put you on our email list so you can receive information about all that we do. We strive to be a congregation that welcomes people of all ages, races, religious beliefs, backgrounds, sexual orientations, gender identities, and abilities. We belong to the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and we are guided and inspired by its values and principles. Our values and principles move us to remember that those of us in the Pioneer Valley live on the unceded homelands of the Petumpkut, Nipmuc, and Nanotuk peoples. We acknowledge our responsibility to confront the legacies of dispossession and systemic racism that are part of our collective history, and we affirm and celebrate the many legacies that inspire us. We have drawing materials and other ways to occupy hands on the tables in the back. Restrooms are downstairs and reached through one of the doors. You can either take the stairs or the elevator and return the same way. We stream our services on Zoom and YouTube, and there's a camera in the balcony that looks down on the Great Hall and shows people's heads from the back. If you prefer not to be seen on camera at all, we suggest that you choose one of the 4 or 5 rows in the back of the hall. Today, after the service, you are invited to join a poetry sharing circle in the parlor, or you may head downstairs to the kitchen and participate in cooking for Cathedral in the Night, a Sunday meal for unhoused people. We're here to celebrate, to reflect, and to support one another. It's good to be together. And now, let's begin our service.
We gather here this morning honoring mystery, honoring discovery, celebrating the questions propelling us forward. The answers are always a newfound foothold. Every enigma beckons us to dance in the mystery, in the sacred interplay of chaos and order, silence and resonance, the silence and resonance of words articulated or unheard. Let wonder steer our course as we come together, united in the mystery that weaves us all into a wondrous tapestry. Now I invite you to rise in body or in spirit as we say the words to accompany lighting our chalice. And immediately after that, we will sing the Hanukkah song by Peter Yarrow, Light One Candle. Flame, we kindle you again today, yet in truth you burn always, in the magic of human connection, in the miracle of earth's abundance, in the call to hope and justice. Burn bright before us, burn bright within us. Seems like an especially apt song for this time.
Happy Hanukkah to those of you who celebrate. Hanukkah is a time of miracles, as we just sang about. Some miracles come directly from God, like the miracle of Hanukkah, when the Jews only had enough lamp oil to last one day, and it lasted for 8 long days. And sometimes there are miracles that humans create. Our story this morning is a Jewish tale from the early 16th century. Our main character is Jacobo, and he had just moved to the Holy Land from Portugal, where he was not allowed to be Jewish. This was the first time that Jacobo could pray in a synagogue and in public, and he was nervous about it. He didn't completely understand the rabbi, and he wasn't sure what he was supposed to do. But one of the rabbi's talks especially touched him. It was about an ancient custom of bringing 12 loaves of bread to the temple each week as an offering to God. This is something we can do, Jacobo thought. Even though we're poor and do not have much to give, we can offer 12 loaves of bread. So the very next Friday, Jacobo went out and bought flour and eggs and sugar and oil. And can you all help me out with the baking, because 12 loaves is a lot. So he put in all the ingredients, and he mixed it up, and he kneaded that bread. He was making challah, which is a special and very delicious bread. So make sure you knead it really well. You can use both hands, unlike me. And then he had to roll out long snakes and braid those snakes. So if you don't mind helping to braid those snakes for the challah, remember, there's 12 loaves, so I need your help. And he put it in the oven and baked those loaves with special loving care, especially with all of your help. And when they came out, warm and smelling beautifully, he wrapped them in white cloth and he went to the synagogue. He stepped inside quietly, looking this way and that, and he crept over to the ark, which is where the Torah, the Holy Scroll, is kept. He opened the ark, and he slipped those loaves of bread into the ark and closed it up again. And he thought, God, I hope you will accept and enjoy this gift. And Sabbath began. Avraham, who was the custodian in the synagogue, came in to clean before the rest of the people came. And he wasn't happy. His family just didn't have enough money, and he felt like he was going to have to quit his job at the synagogue and find something else because he wasn't making enough money. And he really, really loved his job. So after sweeping and cleaning everywhere, he went up to the ark to pray. And he pulled the curtains aside so he could share his problems with God. And what do you think he saw in the ark? 12 delicious, still warm loaves of bread. And his prayers had been answered. There before him was a gift from God, a miracle. And so he brought those loaves home, he shared them with his family, and they lasted for a full week. He didn't have to quit his job, and he was so relieved. So Jacobo came to the service the very next morning, wondering if God had accepted his offering. He sat in the pews, nervous to see what would happen when the rabbi opened the ark, and sure enough, the loaves were gone. Jacobo was so happy that God had accepted his offering. Now, every Friday at the same time each week, Jacobo, if you don't mind helping me, mixed and kneaded and rolled out those snakes and braided that bread and baked those 12 loaves and brought it secretly as an offering to God. And also each week, just after Jacobo had left, Avraham would come, sweep up the synagogue, clean it up, open the ark, and find 12 delicious loaves to share with his family. This went on for many years, until one day, after Jacobo had placed his challah in the ark, as he was leaving, he felt a bony old hand on his shoulder. It was the rabbi. "What do you think you're doing?" came the voice of the aging rabbi. "Bringing our gift to God," Jacobo explained. "But God doesn't eat. God does not have a mouth and teeth," spluttered the rabbi. "But for so many years, God has been eating our challah." Just then they heard a sound. The rabbi motioned to Avraham to hide and see what was happening. To Jacobo, because Avraham had just entered the synagogue and was cleaning up. So they watched as Avraham went through his routine of cleaning and opening the ark. I'm sure you can guess what they saw. And as soon as Avraham picked up the loaves, the rabbi jumped up and said, "Do you know that because you take these loaves each week, this man believes God eats just as we humans do?" And Avraham was startled. "But Rabbi, without these loaves, my family and I would have starved. And I thought that they were a gift from heaven, not from Jacobo." And the rabbi paused and thought and prayed about what had been happening for so many years in his very own synagogue. And he got a message, and that was that the Holy One had not experienced such joy and satisfaction as when he witnessed what had been happening in the synagogue. Jacobo's innocent gift of challah and Abraham's gracious acceptance of the gift was truly a miracle. And so the Holy One instructed Jacobo and Abraham to continue this miracle. And the Sabbath day was a joy for all, to Jacobo, to Abraham, to his family, to the rabbi, and even to the Holy One on high.
And now it's time to greet one another and say hello to everyone on Zoom. Hello, everyone on Zoom. 40 screens worth of people on Zoom. And then greet the people around you as well. hello, people on Zoom. So nice to see you this morning. Hello, David. Nice to see you. Welcome. I hope we can figure out a way to get you here in person soon. Hi, Evelyn and Gil. Hey, Naomi, Karen. Hi, Diane. Hi, Sally. Georgia, I hope you're feeling better. Hi, Claire, Steve, Teresa, Austin. Hi again, Kathy. Hi, Diane, Elizabeth. Nice to see you again. Hi, Ginny. Good to see you at the show last night. Hi, Chris, Peggy, Hope. Hello, Hope. Nice to see you. Hi, Alice. Who else is there? Alice. Allison, good to see you. Hi again, Wendla, Laura, John, Gail and John, Chris. Hey, Rich. Mary Beth. Libby. Lanoy family. Libby Lanoy family. I'm wondering about that baby. Sharon. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Greg. Catherine. It's wonderful to see you all. Every Sunday I look forward to this part of the service. It's great to see you. And now it's time for everyone here to sit down. Now it's time for everyone who is leaving for religious education classes to depart, and we will sing you out. The words are on the screen. Go now in peace, go now in peace. I was going to say, I think that's right. Hi, I'm Kathy Brown, and I'm co-chair with Joan O'Brien of the Partner Church. And we've been a partner with a congregation in Transylvania for 33 years. And hang on. The village that our partners live in is a very small village. It has one paved road. All of the houses that are there are built by the people that live there. They don't buy houses in Transylvania. They either move into ones that are already built as they're getting married, or they build their own houses and live in parts of them as they're developing. So most of the villagers grow their own food, and they have animals, and that's what they eat. So they go out, all the animals go to pasture in the morning and come back at 6 p.m. at night and turn into the driveways as you're going. The church is beautiful and old, and you'll see some pictures, and I have some more for you. And at some point years ago, when they were repainting the sanctuary, they found that there were these Catholic frescoes underneath the paint. And so they restored those, and they used that to raise funds for the congregation. What we've done with our congregation is a lot of visiting. So many adults from the congregation have been to Transylvania to visit, and we've had 3 sets of youth group people going to Transylvania. And those connections are very, very important. The minister and his wife have also visited here, so Mihai and Eniko, and they were here, I want to say about 15 years ago. And over the years, this has been important. But part of the magic of Transylvania is that the roots of our Unitarian Universalist religion, or Unitarian religion, are there, which were established in the 1500s.
And everyone that goes gets a deeper understanding of those very roots. Today, I'm going to have holiday cards, holiday or Christmas cards, spread out in the front pews after the service. There's lots going on today. And if you would like to just write a holiday card or a Christmas card, I invite you to do that, and then I will mail them over there. They cherish these, and they keep them for a whole year. They showed me how they hang them in the sanctuary, and it's all very nice. So thank you.
Booker and I got to go to Transylvania in 2011, and one of the things that I was able to do was to help their 8th graders they don't do coming of age the way we do, they actually are confirmed. It's a Unitarian Christian church, and so that is the service at which the youth take communion, and it's a very moving ceremony, and I got to help serve communion at their confirmation. So speaking of our Christian roots, we do have a Christmas Eve service. We have 2 Christmas Eve services here in this sanctuary. We're back to having 2. There'll be one at 5 o'clock. That one will be in person only, and the one at 7 will be also on Zoom. We would love to have people read. It's a traditional service of carols and tellings of the Christmas story from Matthew and Luke. And so if anyone would like to read, please, please, please send me an email and just let me know. Families are especially welcome. Everyone is welcome. People of all ages to take a turn and do one of the readings at the service. So you can just shoot me an email, minister@uunorthampton.org, and let me know if you'd like to read. Every Sunday we take an offering to support the good work that we do at the Society and the good work of organizations beyond it. And our morning offering will now be given and very, very gratefully received. For meditation this morning, I have a poem from Denise Levertov. She calls it Web. Intricate and untraceable, weaving and interweaving dark strand with light, designed beyond all spiderly contrivance to link, not to entrap. Elation, grief, joy, contrition, all entwined, shaking, changing, forever forming, transforming. All praise to the great web. Let's take some time together in silence. Lauren Isley was an American anthropologist, an educator, a philosopher, a natural science writer, and a poet. He taught and wrote in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, and he was a Renaissance man. He was influenced by Darwin, by Henry David Thoreau, Francis Bacon, and Ralph Waldo Emerson. And this is something he wrote in an essay called Science and the Sense of the Holy. There are two extreme approaches to the interpretation of the living world. One was expressed by Charles Darwin at the age of 28, one by Sigmund Freud in his mature years. Darwin, at a time when the majority of learned men looked upon animals as either automatons or as creatures created merely for human exploitation, jotted thoughtfully into one of his early journals on evolution the following observation. This is something Darwin probably wrote around 1840. If we choose to let conjecture run wild, then animals, our fellow brethren in pain, disease, suffering, and famine, our slaves in the most laborious works, our companions in our amusements. Animals may partake of our origin in one common ancestor. We may be all netted together. And Isley says, the remark I've quoted gives us every sign of that feeling of awe, that feeling of dread of the holy playing upon nature. Darwin's remark reveals an intuitive sensitivity to the life of other creatures around him. His final comment, that we may all be netted together in one gigantic mode of experience, that we are in a mystic sense one single diffuse animals, subject to joy and suffering beyond what we endure as individuals, reveals a youth drawn to the world of nature by far more than just a curiosity to be readily satisfied by the knife or the scalpel. If we turn to Sigmund Freud by way of contrast, we find an oddly inhibited reaction. Freud's reaction to the natural world, or at least his feelings and intuitions about it, are basically cold, clinical, and reserved. Freud regarded any type of religious feeling, even the illuminative quality of the universe, as an illusion. Feelings of awe before natural phenomena, such as that manifested by Darwin, were to him remnants of childhood and to be dismissed accordingly. Freud speaks with condescension of a friend who claimed a sensation of eternity, something limited, unbounded, oceanic, to use the friend's expression. The feeling of just such a sense of awe as might lie at the root of the religious impulse. Freud psychoanalyzed the feeling of oneness with the universe into the child's pleasure ego and explains away one of the great feelings characteristic of the best in humankind as just another manifestation of the irrational aspect of a person's divided psyche. So the hymn we're going to sing next the words were written by Malvina Reynolds, who in her early career, I didn't know this about her, was part of the English department at UC Berkeley. That was before she became a singer-songwriter. And you know some of her songs. Some of her songs are Little Boxes, What Have They Done to the Rain, and Magic Penny. So you can decide whose side, Freud's or Darwin's, this song might represent. It's number 313, Oh, What a Piece of Work We Are.
Oh
the word mystery often to refer to something we don't understand, to a question to which we'd like an answer, to a riddle or a problem to be solved. So I'm going to invite you to, just for a minute, to go down the rabbit hole with Alice and visit the Mad Hatter's tea party. This is a quote from Alice in Wonderland. "The table was a large one, but the three were all crowded together at one corner of it. 'No room, no room,' they cried out when they saw Alice coming. 'There's plenty of room,' said Alice indignantly, and she sat down in a large armchair at one end of the table. 'Your hair wants cutting,' said the Hatter. He had been looking at Alice for quite some time, with great curiosity, and this was his first speech. 'You should learn not to make personal remarks,' Alice said with some severity. 'It's very rude.' The Hatter opened his eyes very wide on hearing this, but all he said was, 'Why is a raven like a writing desk?'" Lewis Carroll, Charles Dodson was his real name, was a 19th century lecturer in mathematics at Oxford, who is remembered and celebrated for the children's books, Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. And a young British writer and musician named Paul Anthony Jones writes, "The Mad Hatter's Tea Party is one of the most famous scenes in all of children's literature, and the Mad Hatter's riddle is one of Lewis Carroll's most enduring and unsolvable puzzles." Carroll composed dozens of riddles and logic puzzles throughout his lifetime, including several acrostic poems and later a set of 7-verse brain teasers. But for some reason, the Mad Hatter's riddle remains a firm favorite. So why exactly is a raven like a writing desk? Jones says, in the original story, after much deliberation, Alice gives up and asks the Hatter for the answer. "I haven't the slightest idea," he replies. But the fact that the Mad Hatter himself left his riddle unsolved has led fans of the book and fans of word games and logic puzzles proposing countless potential solutions over the years since Alice in Wonderland was published in 1865. So here's a puzzle and a mystery. Why have people been trying for over 150 years to solve the Mad Hatter's riddle? Why? It's going to bug you. Why is a raven like a writing desk? So I say we are odd and mysterious human beings. We are very different in some ways and very much alike in others. And I do hope that everyone who has ever tried to solve the Mad Hatter's riddle has done it in the spirit of humor and good fun. Some of us are drawn to and intrigued by puzzles and mysteries. My grandson Caleb is a fan of Rubik's Cube and its various spin-offs, and he can solve several sides of the cube. He's 8. He can solve several sides of the cube, but he hasn't completely mastered it. But he has mastered a pyramid version that he was playing with when we saw them last summer, and he just solved it for the first time on Thanksgiving Day. Many of us also enjoy crime fiction, crime dramas, detective stories. I am an off and on fan. I tend to be more interested in the mystery behind the motivations and the character of the detective and if there's an ongoing love story, that definitely helps. But during the pandemic, my husband Booker and I started watching British and French crime series, decades-old ones like Morse and Lewis, which is its sequel, fluffy ones like Grantchester, and the more recent Vera and Shetland. And they all serve up both the ongoing development of the detective's character and relationships and backstory, along with an actual crime to be solved. Our favorite show at the moment is a French series called Astrid and Raphael, or in the English version, it's just Astrid. She is a young autistic woman who has been working in the Paris Criminal Records Archives since she was a teenager. And Raphael is a police commandant. So she's a lead detective who discovers that Astrid has a preternatural gift for noting details at a crime scene, for making connections to past cases, and eventually she's the one who figures out who is the guilty party. And over time, we learn that Astrid knows the contents of just about every file in the vast archives, going back decades and decades and decades. In flashbacks, we learn about Astrid's childhood, including her early fascination with wooden box and metal wire puzzles. And later, as she works on cases, we watch her assemble evidence piece by piece, sometimes carefully placing documents and pictures all over the floor and walls of a special room that she has staked out for herself deep in the archives. Raphael is amazed the first time Astrid shows her the room. And there are also segments showing personal interactions between the two women as they slowly become friends, as they teach and learn from one another. It's a great show. On the surface, of course, the whodunit, the crime, is the mystery, and the mystery is a puzzle to be solved. But beneath the surface, there's mystery and delight in watching Astrid especially learn and grow. And in the last episode we watched, she's trying to understand more about emotions and wondering whether she herself has them. Why isn't she moved by a sunset? Which to her is rationally explained by the physics of light. Why is she not moved by poetry, which never makes logical sense? So she brings her dilemma to her autism support group, and several of the members of the group say, well, the same way, why are you worrying about this? And then there's one young man who speaks with his passion for both poetry and his sense of wonder in the natural world. And then, of course, some members of the group just look on saying nothing. At the end of the meeting, the facilitator, William, pulls Astrid aside and says, you have feelings, Astrid. I know you do. So are you moved at times by a sunset? Have you felt awe looking up at the stars on a clear night, or across the sea to the horizon, or in the mountains? Have you ever experienced that oceanic feeling? Or that we are, in a mystic sense, one single diffuse animal, subject to joy and suffering beyond what we endure individually? Maybe you felt that sense of the ineffable in an intimate moment with another person or in a group. That sense of connection and oneness can happen in meditation or prayer. It happens here. It can happen when we immerse ourselves in music or art. It can happen when we don't expect it. Ralph Waldo Emerson described one such moment this way. He said, in the woods, standing on the bare ground, my head bathed by the blithe air and uplifted into infinite space, all mean egotism vanishes. I am nothing. I see all, and the currents of the universal being circulate through me. Emerson, of course, is a source we like to cite. He was an off and on Unitarian. That was his parish. He was a Unitarian minister for a while, and then that was his parish when he was in Concord. Our Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, as many of you know and probably don't want to hear, is engaged in a process to revise the section of the bylaws, the association bylaws, that spells out the basic values and purposes of our faith and our association. And the General Assembly, the annual meeting, gave preliminary approval of this proposal last June, and they also approved several motions to change it. And the section on inspiration now reads like this. Direct experiences of transcending mystery and wonder are primary sources of Unitarian Universalist inspiration. These experiences open our hearts, renew our spirits, and transform our lives. We draw upon and are inspired by sacred, secular, and scientific understandings that help us make meaning and live into our values. These sources ground us and sustain us in the ordinary, the difficult, and the joyous times. Direct experiences of transcending mystery and wonder are primary sources of Unitarian Universalist inspirations. These experiences open our hearts, renew our spirits, and transform our lives. The physicist Alan Lightman began his career as an astrophysicist, and he became one of the first faculty members at MIT to hold a joint faculty position in both the sciences and the humanities. He's a scientist kind of in the Lauren Isley tradition, I think. One of those scientists who experience awe and wonder and don't mind telling us that. Someone who is convinced that there will always be mystery and is grateful for it. And he's written several books and essays about the intersection between philosophy, religion, spirituality, and science. One of them is The Accidental Universe, which was published 10 years ago in 2014. Lightman says that the history of science can be seen as the recasting of phenomena that were once thought to be accidents, or miracles, or acts of God, or acts of the gods, into phenomena that can be understood in terms of fundamental causes and principles. And science has been wildly successful doing this. But Lightman says this long and appealing trend may be coming to an end because dramatic developments in cosmological findings and thoughts have led some of the world's premier physicists to propose that our universe is only one of an enormous number of universes with wildly varying properties, and that some of the most basic features of our particular universe, some of our natural laws, are indeed mere accidents, a random throw of the cosmic dice, in which case there is no hope of ever explaining our universe's features in terms of fundamental causes and principles. And he says if this is true, the scientists most distressed are theoretical physicists, because theoretical physics is the deepest and purest branch of science, the outpost closest to philosophy and religion. Theoretical physicists are not satisfied with observing the universe. They want to know why. Lightman explains how increasingly the evidence and the math suggest that the fundamental laws of nature don't reduce down to a single and unique universe, but rather to what physicists are calling the multiverse. He says we're living in an accidental universe, one that is incalculable by science. And I would say we're living in a universe and on a planet that offers us moments of awe and wonder, and that many of us are graced with experiences that offer a sense of being part of a mysterious and wondrous whole. Why? Most events that seem miraculous, like the loaves that Abraham was his name, the temple keeper found with the Holy Torah, do have rational explanations. And not everything, even in science, is reducible. Reason and mystery can and do coexist. Sunsets can be explained by the way light reflects and refracts angles. Humans and other animals may be genetically disposed to appreciate and be moved by sights we would call majestic or beautiful. That doesn't diminish their power or their meaningfulness. It explains them on a level that's wonderful in its own way, and it doesn't invalidate them as a reality that we experience. There will always, always be so much more that we don't know. As humans and as the artificial intelligence creations that we empower, there will always be more that we don't know than we do. And there will always be room for mystery. The UU minister, Gordon McKeeman, wrote this: "How does one address a mystery? Cautiously. Let us go cautiously to the end of our certainty, to the boundary of all that we know, to the rim of uncertainty. Reverently, let us go with a sense of awe, with a feeling of approaching the holy. Hopefully, let us go with hope, out of our need for wholeness in our lives, for the conjunction of reason and passion, for the intersection of timelessness with time. And let us go quietly, for no words will explain the inarticulate or summon the presence that is always present, even in our absence. Simply be in the intimate presence of mystery, unashamed, unadorned, unafraid. And at the end, say, Amen." Our final hymn is number 92, Mysterious Presence. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing. May we embrace the mystery that surrounds us, sink deep into the truth of our unity, and keep our hearts open to moments of splendor to the glory of being alive. Go in peace.